fighting climate change is not about giving up all the things that you love. It's not about, offsetting your flight and paying more for things to reduce your carbon footprint. It's really about choices that everybody can make that often have a really good financial impact, or better for your family's finances, and are better for the planet. And it's really translating this kind of focus that we can help you to more cash and less carbon.
Hey listeners and viewers, welcome to another episode of InvoTalks. This is Fatma Suhail, your host for today. I have amazing Gene with me. He is the CEO and founder of Future Startup. I'm not going to take much more time. Just going to say that this is an amazing startup and phenomenal thing what they are doing in the climate tech landscape. And this podcast is powered by InvoZone, which is a software and web app development company with offices around the globe. We have two more verticals, InvoBlocks, which is associated with blockchain development, and InvoGames, which is associated with game development. So over to you, Gene. How are you? How's Washington, D.C.?
I'm so happy to be on the show, Fatma. Thank you so much for taking the time. Yeah, it's a beautiful kind of cold day in Washington D.C. Today here where Future is based.
Oh, that's good to know. We are going towards a little bit of summer, so when I hear about chilly weather, I'm like, oh, that's good.
Well, we've had a really, really cold spell over the past few days, and now it's just kind of normal February winter weather. So but we've had near Arctic temperatures in some parts of the US, as you might have heard.
Yeah, I think this is also due to climate change, I guess.
Yeah, I think as we look at extreme weather around the world, I think there's more and more research coming out that is kind of clearly showing a link to climate change. I think if we don't act decisively and really involve everyone in the fight against climate change, I think it's going to get worse.
Yes, we have to get everyone involved, especially the stakeholders, the public, the governments, because right now I see the landscape like technology is, we are bringing the new tech, like a startup like yours, which we are going to talk about in our episode. But we really need all of the people on the board for the adoption of the technology. And right now, I think we are lagging in kind of creating proper awareness and seriousness, I must say.
I think what Futures is looking to do is to really make the fight against climate change accessible and also joyful. I think we are starting really with the vision that everyone can participate and do the right thing for the planet and do the right thing for their own kind of pocketbook, their own kind of family budget. And I think that's something that we are kind of stressing as we're growing Futures, that it doesn't have to be hard to do the right thing for the planet. And very often the things that are better for our climate and that create a lower carbon footprint are also better for our overall financial health and well-being. And that's really the kind of core focus that Future has. That's why our slogan is we help you to more cash and less carbon, because we have to be able to kind of focus on these kind of dual elements, because too often sustainability is seen as something that's out of reach and very expensive when it really doesn't have to be.
I agree with you. From this, I want you to, if you can walk us through what is Future Startup doing? How did you started Future? How did you started Future? And what are you, I must say, looking to achieve in 2023?
Well, these great questions, Fatma. Thank you. So, at the heart, I think Future is building the most rewarding way to pay in this fast-growing, sustainable economy, where we see more and more opportunities for families around the country to do what's good for the planet and what's good for the wallet as well. I think in launching Future, we started with a very simple Visa debit card, which is the first card that gives you 5% cash back on all sorts of expenditures at 50,000 businesses across the country that are better for the planet. So whether you are taking the scooter to work in the morning, like I did just now, or you're charging your car, you're taking the bus or the train, or you're buying from the thousands and thousands of thrift stores and bike shops and kind of secondhand stores across the country, we're giving you up to 6% cash back on those purchases, because we think that if you do the right thing for the planet, I think that should be rewarded. You shouldn't be asked to pay more, right? You should be rewarded for doing the right thing, and that's what Future is doing. I would love to kind of talk a little bit about how this started. So I'm honestly kind of relatively new to climate. So my big passion for many years was actually bringing more business, more investment into emerging markets around the world, especially in East and West Africa. And I've seen firsthand the devastation that climate change brings about. I've seen extreme heat, extreme flooding and droughts and weather patterns, which I know we've seen in many parts of Asia as well at an unprecedented level. And so it's become clear to me that so much what I deeply cared about, I think, was threatened by climate change. And then my kids started asking more questions. I am blessed with a wonderful family, and my young son and daughter in particular were always asking, well, Daddy, what are you doing? What are you and Mommy doing to make a difference? And now I can tell them, right? We're building Future. We are looking to empower millions of people across the country and across the world to just enjoy living in a way that's kind of friendly to the planet and getting rewards in return.
Amazing. I think it's really a heart-touching story that your kids actually derived you towards bringing a change. And that's kind of amazing, because you were also the one who imparted this knowledge that when something is wrong, you have to do something to make it right. So credit goes to you too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Probably more so to my wife, who kind of instilled this kind of fierceness in them, which with they kind of confront the world. I think for us and for our kids in particular, I think they see what's happening, right? And I think it's changed quite rapidly. Where even a couple of years ago, I think climate change was part of the conversation, but it wasn't front and center. Today, when my kids are watching the news, right, they see it. I mean, they see what happened in Pakistan. They see what happened in parts of Europe with some of these extreme weather patterns, and they see it at home, right? Our basement flooded 3 times, right? We've lived in the same house for 13 years, right? We've never had an issue, and now we've been flooded 3 times in a year, and the neighbors are having the same issue. And so I think it really hits home in a very deep way, and kids experience that, and they're worried. And I think as parents, right, the most important thing is to make sure that your kids are safe and they have a positive outlook on the future. And so so the Future kind of starting, it was a no-brainer, and certainly inspired by my children.
Amazing. From this, the question came in my mind that you must have faced so much, I must say, a lot of struggle while building Future, because it is an awesome startup, but at the same time, you have an idea, but you want your idea to change into a reality with its true essence. So what were the difficulties you faced in the way of building your startup? And are you still facing them? I want to know, especially in terms of technology, like finding developers, because most of the, I was actually in a podcast with one of the climate tech, and they were saying that it was difficult for them to find developers for bringing their true idea into reality, because for most of the people, it was difficult to understand the importance of this issue.
So I would say, I think that has kind of pretty radically changed. So I think one of the one of the kind of elements of building future that I'm grateful for every day is that we really have assembled a wonderful team that kind of bought into the mission and then kind of joined us early on the journey. We have a very experienced iOS and Android developers, fantastic kind of full stack and machine learning engineers and software developers. And so I think we started Future when certainly in the tech world there was a lot of demand for great engineering talent. Now, obviously, with the layoffs that we've seen over the past few months, I think the market has shifted. But I think throughout this entire period, I think there was a real interest to build something that matters, to build something where you have a kind of direct impact on reducing carbon emissions, but also empowering people to make choices that are ultimately helpful for their families. So that's really been a key highlight for me. I think the challenge that we faced at the beginning, and I think that's kind of we've broken through now in a way, is really making clear that fighting climate change is not about giving up all the things that you love. It's not about offsetting your flight and paying more for things to reduce your carbon footprint. It's really about choices that everybody can make that often have a really good financial impact, or better for your family's finances, and are better for the planet. And really translating this kind of focus that we can help you to more cash and less carbon has taken some time, but I think it's now really hit home, and we've been fortunate to really grow rapidly without even investing in kind of paid advertisements. And we've grown across the country and now have members in every part of the United States.
That's phenomenal. The way you guys are growing, amazing. So another question just came in my mind that, of course, now you guys are growing, and that's pretty exciting and that's pretty good. But what were the difficulties in the start? Like, as a marketer, I think it is very difficult to influence the consumer behavior, and especially in terms of climate change. How difficult was it for you?
So I think it's always kind of challenging to impact behavior. I think back to my earlier point, I think what a lot of the focus has been in the debate is to tell you not to do things, right? Don't drive, don't fly, don't eat any meat, and we know from decades and decades of research, but also just talking to folks every day, that we don't respond well to you can't do that and stop doing this, right? That's just I think that's just part of our nature. I don't like being told what not to do. My kids certainly don't like being told what not to do. And so I think for us to really shift the focus on all the opportunities and just the joys and the fun of living climate smart and the benefit that creates, I think it's been really, really powerful. And I think that is really translating, right? People like having more cash, right? People like having a great deal. And so if I look at our own journey, for example, we started buying everything secondhand. Right? My kids don't care if their jeans is straight from the rack or it's kind of secondhand, right? We buy it at the same brands that they like. And so all of our apparel shopping is now secondhand. That means, my wife and I are saving a lot of money in the process. We're taking, several tons of kind of carbon out of the equation. And the same is true with, switching to renewable energy. We have this great partnership now with Arcadia Solar. We actually offer people $100 off their utility bill, and another kind of 5 to 10% off their utility bill every month. And so, who wouldn't want that, right? Who wouldn't want to basically pay less for the same service? And so, focusing on climate change through that lens, I think for us has been really powerful.
Yeah, especially in this inflation, who wouldn't want that? around.
Exactly. And right. And I think what we're seeing now, right? We have inflation, we have high interest rates. We are seeing some of the kind of challenges associated with buy now and pay later, right? Because you still have to pay later, and often you have to do that with significant interest added on. And so as families across the country are kind of looking at purchases and looking to make ends meet and save a little bit here and there, we can actually offer very concrete, very kind of sound opportunities to save money and, not give anything up, right? Like if you're switching to solar as part of the deal that I just mentioned, right? You're not losing anything. The lights are still on. The fridge works the exact same way it did before, right? You're not suffering from power cuts or anything else. The only thing that changed for you is that you have dramatically lowered your carbon footprint, and you're also saving a fair amount of money every month, and you get $100 to start. So it's that kind of simplicity to take action that I think we are always focused on. And I think that starts with, every one of us. Like this morning, I didn't take the car. I took a scooter, right? I look ridiculous, as a kind of fairly tall man on the little scooter. But it was fun.
So it's joyful. Yeah, it's joyful. It's joyful. Moving towards nature and everything. I think that's natural, something natural. It's also good for health.
It's better for the health. It's a kind of fresh, lovely, lovely morning. And I'm at work faster, right? I don't have to sit in traffic and kind of deal with the frustration of, waiting forever at the red light. And so that's, I think, the kind of power of action. And I think that's meant that Future's been able to grow so quickly, because we're really kind of changing the paradigm.
Amazing. I think there are small changes, and these small changes can be so beneficial to us. But as you said, sometimes we are told what not to do, and that actually scares people away, especially in terms of climate change. Well, what you said, that don't eat meat, and etc. These kind of things. And I am very happy to know that Future Startup is kind of changing this whole scenario very positively. So, Jean, I came across some of the predictions I was reading about climate tech in 2023. As a person who is present in the field, I would like to know your opinion about this. That I was reading that in 2023, it would be difficult to reduce to meet the target of reducing 1.5 degrees centigrade of temperature. But there was also a prediction that it would be very difficult to do. What do you think about that? Is this? Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is no doubt that we are facing an unprecedented challenge, right? And I'll give you an example. Like when big parts of the world kind of shut down due to COVID, and flights were canceled, and folks were kind of staying home, you did see a reduction in carbon emissions, but by a fairly small percentage. And then once the world opened back up, right, you saw that kind of emissions profile kind of climb up very, very quickly. And so I think that's why we are focusing on really the underlying incentives, because we really have to create more opportunity for people, not just in the US, but really around the world, to kind of take decisions that lower their carbon footprint, or start out with a kind of continued low carbon footprint right from the beginning. And I think that is a major disruption. I think what we are seeing definitely is an acceleration, certainly in the US and a few other countries, of some of the technologies that can kind of help us reduce our carbon footprint, whether it's the solar I just mentioned, or electric vehicles that are kind of growing rapidly in terms of adoption, or whether it's the kind of greater proliferation of kind of circular shopping and secondhand shopping and refurbished devices. Like a partner of ours, Back Market, which is kind of the supermarket for tech reborn and kind of refurbished iPhones and kind of Samsung Galaxy devices and laptops. They've been growing rapidly. They've raised a large amount of funding, and so I think they're really positive signs that we are adapting to this new reality, and we just have to do it a lot faster and more aggressively.
Agreed with you. Completely agree that we have to move towards, we have to move faster and very efficiently, because right now we saw the earthquake in Turkey, a very sad thing, and I think this is all the cause of climate change. And what I miss the most is that our governments, our other stakeholders, which are very important, should also be on one page, helping in the enhancement of this technology.
Mhm. I think from so where I sit, I've always believed that there was not enough kind of focus on what you and I can do in our day-to-day lives. I think certainly in the US now, with the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act or the kind of climate bill, as some may call it, I think there are now really significant incentives for you to transition to a lower carbon footprint, right? Like whether it's installing a heat pump and no longer using natural gas, which has a high carbon footprint, or it's kind of switching to renewable energy or an electric vehicle. There are really massive incentives now for homeowners, for family across the countries to make that switch. What I would say is that I think traditionally the focus has always been on, governments have to act and corporations have to act. But ultimately, right, if you look at the data, over 2/3 of carbon emissions are caused by us. It's right. The decision: do I plug in my car or do I, go to the gas station and fill it up? Right. That's a decision that we control, and we have to make sure that we make those decisions and those choices much more accessible to everybody. Right. So an electric vehicle is not something that only wealthier households can afford, but it's actually something that everybody can afford and benefits from the savings. But so much of the kind of choices, whether you buy a new iPhone or a refurbished iPhone, whether everything has to be new, or you're getting some, secondhand fashion and kind of great shape and great quality, these are all decisions that we can make every day. And so we have tremendous power to be part of this fight and really shape our destiny. And that's often been missing, right? Consumers were often overlooked, and it was always kind of a focus on governments. We don't have to wait for the government. We don't have to wait for Exxon to somehow change their ways and become a solar company. We have the opportunity to take a decision, right? We can say, look, I'm no longer going to fill up my car at Exxon, right? I'm not going to be part of that. I'm going to transition to public transport. I'm going to transition to electric vehicles.
Amazing. That's a refreshing kind of point of view, I must say, Jean. That change starts with us. I agree with you that most in the equation, the consumers are kind of missing, and that's amazing. That's amazing, because I rarely hear this kind of point of view, because I mostly see people chanting slogans, blocking museums, libraries, for climate change protests and etc. I don't say that's bad, but at the same time, we have to focus on ourselves too, that what we are doing, what is our behavior towards the climate change. And I completely agree with you that our behavior fairly needs to change.
Yeah, and I think I've always kind of looked at the world kind of this way. Back from when I was an activist, in my high school, right? We we had, very, very strong views and very strong opinions, and were very motivated. But I think it always starts with, what can I do on my end, right? And maybe you have vast opportunities because you run a large company and you can really kind of change how your employees get to work, and you can change the kind of supply chains or the resources that you're using. Or you're just focused on your family, or even just yourself. And so I think starting Future, I think the first thing we did was look at what are the steps that we can take to reduce our carbon footprint, which was enormous. I mean, we're a larger family. We're consuming a lot and kind of creating a lot of carbon emissions. And so we looked at what are the practical steps that we can do in our daily lives that can really make a difference. And so we looked at planting trees, and we really kind of sat down and calculated that we had to plant like our own little forest of over 7,000 trees, and then look after them. And that seemed pretty hard. And then we just decided, okay, we're going to switch our lifestyle in a way that dramatically reduces our carbon footprint. And it's not like we made sacrifices or, we need a medal for any of this, because it was fun, and it's just financially smarter, and it's just better. And I think that's the kind of experience that also then inspired us to try to empower others to do the same, and particularly create opportunities for those that might be less fortunate financially, to kind of create more accessibility so that everyone can make these choices, right? I'm saving so much money with my electric vehicle, right? Because I'm charging it for free as part of the contract. Every time I drive from here to New York, I'm saving $130, $150 on the trip. And I just want more and more people to have the opportunity to enjoy these benefits. And that's part of what Future is doing.
Amazing. From this, I really want to know that we come across many startups who say that we don't have those kind of resources that we become climate friendly. I know we talked about this in our previous question also, but for a startup who is just starting, don't have any financial, power, for a technology startup especially, what they can do to become more climate friendly, because in technology there are of course our devices, laptops, etc., are also somehow cause of climate change and etc. What startups is particularly I want to know you can align just one step take towards becoming climate friendly?
Yeah, I think it's again like it's just looking at your impact. I mean, it's always easiest to kind of speak about things that we actually did rather than what someone else should do. So what we did, everything that is in our office is bought secondhand. Like the desk that I'm sitting at is made from shipping crates, and then we bought it secondhand at Kaya, which is a great kind of marketplace for kind of secondhand items. I think the chair I'm sitting on is made from recycled ocean plastic, for example. The computers that we have are all refurbished secondhand, so are the phones. And so again, it's an example of just spending less money and having a much lower carbon impact. And then I think throughout, as we think about how do we meet as a team, right? A lot of us are working from home. We are starting something that encourages our employees to kind of use public transport more and kind of use some of those climate smart ways to get around. So there are lots of options, all the way down to the 401k retirement plan that we have as a company has a lot of renewable energy investments and a kind of climate savvy investment choices, right? Which actually was much harder to get than I would have liked. So there's a plethora of options that I think everyone has at their disposal, and often they involve saving money, which, as someone who has, started this by just paying as much as I could with my private personal credit card, I can tell you that, spending less is always good when you're building a new company.
I agree with that because it all depends. In the end, it's all about finances, especially when you're running a startup. And it's difficult for most of the startup in this, I must say, era of layoffs and everything, inflation, to sustain themselves. Uh, Jean, as a person who is present in the industry, I would really like to know that what are three top technologies do you think in a climate tech landscape are going to, revolutionize the whole scenario?
So I think that's a hard question to answer, because there is so much innovation happening
Exactly.
in this space. I think what I'm focused on is all the kind of innovations that are already here, right? If I'm going down the street and I'm having a burger at Plant Burger, it tastes great. Like, it's one of my favorite burgers, right? It happens to be entirely plant-based. When we see kind of the innovations that are happening in the electric vehicle space, and some of the signs of some of the improvements that are happening on the batteries in particular, I think that's really exciting. Solar, as you know, as a technology, has kind of made rapid improvements in terms of efficiency, and so there are a lot of great technologies, I think, that are already there that we can already adopt. Circularity is, an ancient concept, right? Where you check with your neighbors and kind of figure out, well, what do you need that I have, and what do I need that you have? I mean, when we look at back market and kind of bigger marketplaces, right? It's just taking something that we've done for generations all across the world, and it's just taking it to a kind of large scale. So a lot of the kind of technology already exists, and then obviously I am excited and I'm closely following to see what's happening on the battery side. Like, what are the efficiency gains there? I'm personally fascinated by kind of fusion reactors and some of the breakthroughs that we've seen over the last few months. But again, my main focus would be, like, we don't have to wait for the game-changing technology, right? A lot of the things that we can do day to day are already here, and they're already really good.
That's pretty refreshing to hear that most of the things that we can do are here and we can do them. But I think we mostly, like you said, we focus on bigger things and bigger picture, not what we can do. And
yeah, and I would also say I think the pace of progress in this space has been so rapid that I think it takes a while to catch up. Like, I didn't know that my favorite burger would be plant-based until I tried it, right? Because when I tried a veggie burger 10 years ago, I didn't like it at all, right? And now I think there's kind of so much new stuff happening. When I used to buy secondhand clothes, right, it was very clear that they were secondhand, right? And they were often not in great shape. Now, today, I can order from all my favorite brands directly. I can order their kind of secondhand item, and it's in fantastic shape. Like the shirt I'm wearing, which is kind of our future, future swag, is or our merch is made from recycled plastic bottles, right?
Amazing.
It's an awesome shirt, right? Like, so there's a lot of things that have happened on the technology side that are now becoming kind of part of everyday life that I think we can kind of start adopting much more readily.
It's really amazing. It's really, kind of encouraging to hear you that many industries are making changes, and as we said earlier, that the change starts with us. Future, I must say, is an amazing startup, and I wish you guys success in leaps and bounds. But where do you see Future in 5 to 6 years? I know 2003 has just started, but every startup or every company has plans that we are going to change. This is how we are going to sustain in the market. But where do you see Future in 5 to 6 years?
Yeah, and in 5 to 6 years, I mean, I think my vision is that, yeah, we'll be the kind of key platform that powers millions and millions of people, both in the US, but also other parts of the world, to make choices that are better for the planet and better for their wallet, and really kind of find a place in many homes, and kind of be the go-to resource that if you want to figure out, well, how can I do better, right? If you're having the same conversation that I had with my kids some time ago, that, you come to Future and we can help you figure out, look, here's how you can transition in the sustainable economy. Here's how you can save cash and carbon at the same time, and to really inspire millions and millions of people around the world to do the same.
Phenomenal, I must say. And I wish you guys really best of luck in achieving what you guys want, because what you're doing is truly noble, and it is truly what our world needs right now, with all these floods and drastic kind of climate changes. I must say, we have to build the better future and better world for our coming generations, because what we are leaving them is not, I would say, is fair right now.
No, we have to do more, and yeah, I have this conversation with my kids all the time, and they are also thinking ahead, right? They want to kind of know what happens to their lives and what happens to their kids when they decide to have children. So it's imminent that we act, and we should act with fierce urgency. But we should find ways that kind of everyone can access, and ways that don't break the bank, that don't mean that you're sitting in the cold in your house, right? There are ways that we can now access technology and opportunity to just create a more sustainable economy that works better for everybody. And yeah, I hope that in the future we can play a small role in helping bring that about.
Yeah, I completely agree that what we can do should be focused more. And thank you so much, Jean, for being with us. It was truly an honor, because I read about Future, and now our discussion over here, that change is going to start with us, and we have to find more sustainable ways in which we can mitigate the climate change risks, and how from small changes we can bring such revolutions in this field of climate change, because the world is really in need of drastic measures, like you said. Thank you so much, Jean, for being with us. It was a complete honor. And
same here, Fatma. Thank you for having us. It's been great to be on the show, and yeah, we'll kind of keep you up to date as we continue growing. Knock on recycled wood. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We would love to have you for some other episode.
Yeah, I'd love to come back. I tremendously enjoyed the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much.